Then back to this about, since we're at food, right? I think now because COVID period, Grab food, all this.
Oh yes, convenience.
So it's so convenient that we don't cook anymore.
Yeah.
Then become like fast food is also quite popular nowadays, right?
That's
so
right.
how does fast food impact our life?
I
think
it's-
since young we all love to eat.
Yeah,
fast
we've reached a point where I think if you ask me, even as a doctor, whether I could make do without fast food, I'd say no. Yeah, so I think it's quite hard. I mean, being too much of an idealist, I cannot say, you're not supposed to eat fast food. I'll be lying to myself and everyone else. So the truth is, you can't possibly avoid it because it has become ubiquitous. It's everywhere. So and it offers you the unparalleled convenience. So when you're hungry, you think of
Fast food.
McDonald's or KFC or Burger King, one of these things. But the problem with fast food is that majority of the items that are sold are deep fried and they're rich in carbs. So they do have some nutritional value. They're not junk. I wouldn't call them. This whole idea of junk food, I think it's very unfairly is an unfairly given label to these kinds of foods because they're not completely junk.
Okay.
They do carry some nutritional value. Like for example, let's take a chicken burger or fish burger. It's not junk. You do get protein. You do get some good nutrition out of it. It's just that when you eat this as your staple food, you're also getting the negative benefits of the deep fried aspect of it. The fact that they use unhealthy oils, which is most commonly vegetable or palm oil. And then the third thing is you end up eating with the buns, which are very high in carbohydrates. They're almost, the two buns that you have above and below your burger.
Yes.
They're almost as good as a bowl of rice.
But what if I don't eat without the bun?
Exactly. So if let's say for example you choose a low carb option, then at least you save yourself the carb from the carbs.
Okay.
But you still don't escape from
the fried food.
The fried stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So you generally should try and limit your intake of fast food. But I think it would be impractical for me to advise you to not even have it. So I think we have reached a point where you can have it, but try and balance it out. Maybe if you have maybe 1 to 2 days a week, or even days, I would say 1 to 2 meals a week, you can switch, you can have
But how about if we eat the chicken without the skin, is it healthier? Like for KFC, right? They're all fried.
Correct. But what's the joy in that then? I mean, there's you'd rather cook it at home and eat it, right?
Yeah.
So might as well not eat it. So I think the whole point of eating fast food is to
Enjoy,
eat it and then feel like, yes, that was a solid meal. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to enjoy it and then you're going to keep feeling things and wasting your time, I think it's pointless. So don't.
Okay.
The better option is, if you really feel that you need to do it, eat something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So now I got another questions, right? I think with the convenience of the Grab food and all that, so we tend to eat out more frequently.
Correct.
So is that an unhealthy habit? Because I think, in the past, our grandparents always tell us, home cooked food is always better.
Yeah, I mean they still do it.
Yeah.
Not in the past, I think they're still doing that. I'm sure many families they advise you the same. Actually, there is some truth to it.
Okay.
There is, because if you think about it, when you cook at home, generally your food choices are healthier because there's almost most families will have a serving of vegetable.
Yes.
Yeah, and most families will tend to have some serving of fruit every now and then, and most families they will have at least a balanced diet. But I do I must confess that I've seen most patients mentioning that almost every meal they have rice. That's a problem. So it's not necessarily always healthy, but compared to eating out home cooked food, it will easily win. Because first of all, when someone cooks at home, if it's your own family member, I mean, I'm not too sure about domestic helpers. If you have a good domestic helper, yes, of course, she will probably put in some love and affection when she cooks.
Yeah, at least she will control. They will control.
Correct. So they will control the amount of oil,
yeah.
the salt, the sugars and everything. So and there's some dutifulness when they do it. When someone cooks it at home. So the meal that comes out of it is generally healthier. Yeah, that's one. And secondly, the choices you make are better, you see. But there's a big caveat here. So there are lots of people who eat at home all the time, but it's completely unhealthy choices. So in the end, it comes back to choice.
Okay.
So there are those. I'll give you an example. I've got patients who have told me that they tell me that I only eat at home. Then I say, what do you eat? Oh, Morning I eat kway teow soup. Yeah. Then after that
Okay.
lunch I eat chicken, rice, and vegetables. Then dinner I eat rice with fish
Okay.
and a little bit of preserved kimchi. So I'm like, okay, so what is so healthy about this? Because you see, they're having carbs all 3 meals. You do
Yes.
need carbs in your diet because this is the primary source of energy. But then, you need to balance it out properly. So if you're going to
Okay.
have 3 meals with pure carbs and a little bit of this, vegetable and meat, it does not necessarily mean that you're being healthy. So
Okay.
I would suggest that most people try and rotate the kind of meal that they have. Maybe one meal you want to skip the carbs, you can have some grilled fish, some vegetables. Yes, and then there will be people who will come and say that oh, you're westernizing our meal. We are Asians, we don't want to do this. So, but to each his own, is their choice. But the idea is that if you take too much of Asian kind of style of diet, too much rice, too much noodles, then of course it again becomes as unhealthy as eating out. So it really depends on your choices.
Yeah, so I think in short, right, it all falls back to choices.
Exactly.
And I think eating out is not necessarily unhealthy. I think nowadays health promotion
Yeah, we
board
do have
are
lots of
actually
healthy options.
yeah, so you can actually choose to have more, without rice, less rice, but more vegetables,
Correct.
fish as your options, right?
You do have like on Foodpanda and Grab, there
Yeah,
are lots
yeah.
of restaurants and food outlets that serve very healthy food.
Okay.
They do. It's just that sometimes they're much more expensive than the unhealthy ones.
Yeah.
So it's not just choice; it's also budget constraints. So it really depends. Yeah.